Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're recognized on the next one, Senate Bill 1733.
Okay, and we do have an amendment where we have rewritten the bill on that. If you have the amendment in your packets, we chose to include firearms or firearm ammunition, knives, tasers, mace, spray, or pepper spray in that amendment at Senator Green's request. At his request, we also included both of the bills the language from both of the bills that he had passed earlier in the session on the employee carry. This bill defines personal protective property, and I enumerated those. It also defines motor vehicle, but shall not include any motor vehicle which is owned or leased by a governmental or business entity and that is provided by such entity to an employee for use during the course of employment if the entity has adopted a written policy prohibiting firearms and ammunition not required for employment within the entity's motor vehicles. It also says that if the personal property, which would be the firearm or gun or knife or so forth, is removed from a vehicle or handled in the case of self-defense, defense of another, or defense of property, that it an individual who is in lawful possession of the personal property, that they may use them in those cases. It also states that, well, as I said, it includes the casual observance language from Senator Green's bill. And no person, business entity, employer, or governmental entity who is the owner, lessee, or manager of real property shall prohibit any person who is entitled to park a motor vehicle or traverse on such real property from transporting and storing personal protective property pursuant to this section. So this gives protection to the employee and prevents them from being fired should it be discovered that they are carrying the firearm in their vehicle.
Okay, you've heard a description of the bill. Is there a motion on Senate Bill 1733? It's moved by Senator Campfield. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Green. And the amendment is drafting code 13665. Is that correct, Senator Beavers?
013665.
Okay, is there a motion on the amendment? It's moved by Senator Campfield. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Green. Is there further discussion on the amendment? Senator Chairman Bell, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Beavers, is this bill being, or this amendment to the bill, is this bill being brought to correct what you see as a problem with the bill that we passed last year?
Yes, and I think Senator Green covered some of those in his two bills, but this would cover the part where the employee could be fired.
Okay. Do you know if anybody's been fired since last year after the passage of that bill?
That's a good question because I did hear of one case and I meant to look into it and I haven't heard anything else.
Okay. And I know we have conflicting opinions, and I would point out that they are opinions. I know, as I understand, any bill that's passed by the legislature by 50 votes and 17 votes in the Senate is presumed constitutional until it's ruled otherwise. And I know even the opinions that we get from the AG are that opinions. Now, they are opinions from the highest attorney in the state, but they are opinions. And so I understand why you're bringing this. I don't know yet if we have a need for it because we do have conflicting opinions, and I understand there's not been a court case brought yet. And so I'm a little torn on your bill. Again, I know why you bring it. If we had evidence, if we had a history of of seeing people fired, and that was taken to court, and the law that we passed last year found lacking, I would be much more eager to vote for your bill. And right now I'm struggling a little bit with voting for it since I've not yet seen a need for it.
And Senator Bell, I know I can remember the conversation that it was mentioned in, that they had a case where someone had been fired, was with, I believe, Chris Cox with the NRA, but I have not received any details of that. I thought they were going to be in town here in the next few weeks, but haven't seen them.
Okay. Senator Overbey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to ask the sponsor a question about paragraph H. And ask the sponsor what is the intent of paragraph H.
Senator Beavers.
Well, I will just read it. No person, business, entity, employer, or governmental entity who is the owner, lessee, or manager of the real property shall be liable in any civil action for damage, injury, or death resulting from or arising out of actions of a person that is authorized by this section. In other words, they are authorized to have a gun in their automobile unless the person or entity commits an offense involving the stored personal protective property or otherwise solicits, induces, or procures the conduct resulting in the damage, injury, or death.
Senator Overbey.
Well, I read the words. I was just wondering what's the sponsor's intent.
I think to protect the real property owner so that they shall not be liable for any civil action.
Senator Overbey.
Any civil action brought by whom?
Any person that might be injured or it says death resulting from an action of the person that is authorized to store that weapon in their car.
I still don't quite understand what we're getting at, but thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Senator Beavers, what does the language of this bill do that is different from the bill that we passed last year?
It protects the employee.
In what way?
In that there cannot be any punishment for having a firearm or knife or mace or taser in their car, carrying it in their car, and parking it at their workplace. It says you cannot bring any criminal action against them. In other words, you couldn't say that they were trespassing on the property with those things that were not allowed to be on the property or make any claims of that sort.
Okay. And what about paragraph I? What is the purpose of paragraph I? Sorry, subparagraph I of the amendment that we're on.
It just states that if there's another statute about real property that governs this, that other section would control. And I would imagine that is referring to the posting of if their property is posted.
I'm a little concerned that we would not be able to bind a future General Assembly with this language here. Is there further discussion of the amendment? Senator Finney.
I noticed Mr. Arnold has not testified today on behalf of the administration. I was wondering if he might.
Mr. Arnold, does the administration have a position on this legislation? We will go into recess.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Finney. We have the governor's council is actually still reviewing this legislation and kind of getting into the intricacies of it. I can say that I've mentioned this to the governor. I do think the governor is concerned kind of about the breadth of it, I guess. I think the thing that I've always heard the governor kind of say with regard to this issue is that we need to try and be careful to strike a balance between the rights of the property owners and the rights of the gun owners. And I think the governor's concern might be that this bill, that that balance kind of goes away a little bit with this bill. Now, having said that, we've not worked against it. Like I said, we're still kind of going through the bits and pieces of it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are there questions of Mr. Arnold? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Anything else while we're out of session? No. Okay. We'll go back in session. Senator Finney, did you have anything further before I get to Senator? Okay. Senator Campfield.
I'm just curious, trying to get you another vote here. Would this also cover switchblade knives? And do you know of any people who have been fired for having a switchblade knife in their car?
Senator Beavers.
Don't know of anyone who's been fired. And actually, Senator Green offered that language, and I would let him answer whether or not he intended to include switchblade knives in that.
Senator Green.
Sure. Thank you.
I'm sorry, was there any sort of answer for the record or not? No. Senator Green. Okay. Is there further discussion of the amendment? Okay. Seeing none, we'll take a voice vote on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. And the ayes have it. We're on the bill as amended. Okay. And this bill, Senator Beavers, then this bill would, in fact, override the two previous bills that we passed this year. Is that correct?
This bill includes those two provisions, and so this would override what Senator Green passed.
Okay. Thank you.
It's my understanding.
Okay. Yeah. Is there further discussion on the bill? Okay. This motion is to the calendar. No, I'm sorry. Yes, calendar committee. The motion is to the calendar bill committee on Senate Bill 1733. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Bell. Votes aye. Senator Campfield.
Aye.
Votes aye. Senator Finney. Votes no. Senator Ford. Votes no. Senator Gardenhire. Senator Green. Votes aye. Senator Overbey.
I'm rolling some of them anyway.
Votes no. Senator Stevens. Votes no. Chairman Kelsey. Votes no. Mr. Chairman, 3 ayes, 5 nays.
3 ayes, 5 noes. The motion fails. Mr. Vice Chairman, would you please take the gavel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next bill is